Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hopeful Hearts podcast. I am your host, Holly Perda, and this month we are going to be talking about prevention. So, I'm going to have one very special guest for this podcast, and we are going to be talking about alcohol, drugs, vaping, and the flip side of that, and staying healthy and how to not give in to peer pressure when it comes to those things. So obviously, alcohol, drugs, and vaping, it's not good for you at all. And most of it occurs because kids get peer pressured into doing it. And we are going to be focusing in on what they do to your body and how harsh it is. And on that flip side, we're going to talk about ways that you can stay healthy or you can get help if you are struggling with that right now.
I have with me Frankie, and we are going to be talking about prevention. So, to start off, I would like you to tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Hi, Holly. Thank you for having me on your podcast. My name is Francesca Bryson. I go by Frankie, and I am a mom of two and currently the coordinator for Team Newburgh. Team Newburgh is a substance use prevention coalition here in Orange County. We teach youth about the dangers of today's substances, and we teach parents how to properly lock up their medication. So I've been in this position a little over a year and a half now, but I have been in the prevention field about 5.5 years. I started as the Warwick Youth Coordinator for the Warwick Valley Prevention Coalition in 2019. And then in 2020, I became full-time at the Warwick Prevention Coalition as the coordinator. During my time there, I restored prominent relationships and built relationships with what we call in the prevention field the 12 sectors. So I worked with the police department, the school district, business sectors, volunteer, healthcare, like your mom,
Yeah.
and of course, youth. We actually organized the first Warwick Trunk or Treat during COVID, and we helped raise funds for the youth clubs at school and the coalition. We drew in roughly about 1,200 family and youth in the community to that event, which was awesome.
That's awesome.
Um, and then what else? We organized the first National Night Out. So National Night Out Against Crime is held the first Tuesday in August every year. And it helps build relationships with the PD and the community. And we had about 43 different, oh my God, we have about 43 different booths at the event. The PD cooked food. We had resource booths. We had, you were there.
Yeah, it was
You
there.
want to talk a little bit about National Night Out?
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing booths there to bring the community together. I actually had my Happiness with Holly booth when I was working on my silver award, and we would get the community there. They had the police officers there, and they were making hot dogs. They had the toucher trucks. It was just a fun event just to bring everyone together, and I don't know, I thought it was really fun.
Yeah. So it's basically just to build positive relationships with the community and all the organizations that are there. The idea behind prevention work is to really bridge the gaps between the community and its resources, no matter what community you're in.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, Warwick was one of 8 coalitions that year to receive the Rookies of the Year award for National Night Out, which was really fun.
Awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah. Um, but as much as I'd like to talk about some of the things that I've done in such a short time in the prevention field, I want people to really know that this career it wasn't something that I was seeking out.
Yeah.
It found me. Not many people, like go to college and then they're like, oh, I want to work in like prevention. Not many people even know what the prevention field is. Um, and most people that work here are either in recovery or have had an impact somehow in their life related to substance use or mental health. And I actually lost my uncle in 2015 to suicide. And then in 2019, my brothers and I lost one of our like really close family friends um, in Warwick. We all grew up in Warwick together, graduated from the high school, and we lost him to substance use overdose in 2019. And between those two things, it's that really kind of sparked my interest and passion for working in the prevention field. With both of those instances, like none of us knew the signs of suicide prevention, suicide, and none of us knew the signs of overdose. And both of these individuals that had passed, if you looked at them, they seemed like normal, kind of happy-go-lucky people. They always had a smile on their face. They were always welcoming, and they would help you give the shirt off their back. And it was almost like, you wouldn't think it would be them.
Yeah.
So from there on, I was like determined to let people know that it can really happen to anybody. Suicide and substance use, like it has no boundaries. It can happen to anybody at any time. And I really wanted to drive that point home of let's spread awareness about these important topics because people don't talk about them often enough.
They kind of just like push it away because they don't want to talk about it.
And you really want to give like youth, especially like an outlet. During COVID, obviously we were all home and people weren't having those face-to-face conversations. So you didn't really know what people were going through. And then once you get back out into the community, it's almost like, everybody's anxiety and depression was at an all-time high. We weren't used to seeing each other again. Everybody was a little bit nervous about getting sick and cautious and things like that. So that was an even bigger time to kind of, raise these topics.
Yeah, it was. I know a lot of people were struggling during that time because, yeah, you're right. They didn't see other people and they wanted to talk to other people. We couldn't hang out anymore. It was tough. You didn't really know what to do. So,
Yeah. So after COVID, one of the things that the Prevention Alliance of Orange County worked on, and I'll touch a little bit about what that is, because not many people know. So we are coalition coordinators from all different areas of Orange County. So Warwick, Newburgh, we have a Middletown coalition, we have a Pine Bush coalition. So all the coordinators got together and they formed this kind of like subcommittee called the Prevention Alliance. And we worked on a Orange County Youth Wellness Festival. We said, how can we get each of our coalitions involved? How can we get all those prominent partners involved in something positive for all the youth that are currently struggling during COVID? Because not only was depression and anxiety and suicide high during COVID, and obviously all the health risks that come along with COVID, but also substance use was high because now all the kids are home and they're depressed and they don't have outlets like going outside and meeting their friends and everything. Everything was shut down. So once all the restrictions kind of lifted, we decided like let's have an Orange County Youth Wellness Festival. Let's bring the resources, all of them together, as many as we can in one area for kids to come to do fun activities. So you were also there again with Happiness with Holly, and we had yoga on the lawn. We had 2 different sessions. We had many different organizations and resources. There was insurance companies, there was the state police, the correction officers, there was the National Guard. We had a DJ, we had food trucks, we had gym guys, I think it's called, came. There was like a pull-up competition. So it was just all little fun things for kids to do and just kind of like de-stress for a day.
and that was fun too, to try to get the community together. Yeah.
Hope
So,
to do that again soon.
yeah, that was so much fun. The turnout wasn't as great as like we hoped.
Yeah.
National Night Out, I can't even speak. National Night Out was like much bigger, but yeah, hopefully we could do that again. That was so much fun. So now I'm gonna ask you, why is it important to promote substance use prevention, and what do teens not understand about drug use, vaping, or alcohol abuse?
So I think today that teens really underestimate the potency of today's substances, right? Back when our parents and grandparents, maybe even great grandparents, they all used substances, in the 70s, 80s. Um, Today's substances are not what they used to be. They're not your grandparent, it's not your grandparents' weed that you grew up on, okay? The potencies are sky high. And not only the potencies, there is a street drug called fentanyl, and it's mixed with every different substance that's on the market today. Every different substance that's on the street, fentanyl is in. And fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. Okay, and it's 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. And most kids today are buying synthetic pills off social media, such as Snapchat. And I have spoken to parents, firsthand, spoken to them and listened to their stories about their children taking a half a pill, and ultimately it left them to be fatal, and they are no longer here. So I think kids are really underestimating what is in these substances and just how much is in them. So there's something that we talk about in prevention called the chocolate chip cookie analogy. And I'm going to explain this in the best possible way that I can. So when you bake a batch of chocolate chip cookies, and you pour the chocolate chips inside, maybe some of your cookies have a lot of chocolate chips, some of them have a little bit, and some might not have any or very few. And that's the way that we try to describe counterfeit pills. So if you get a batch of counterfeit pills, let's say you get 10, some of your pills may have a lot of fentanyl, some of them might only have a little bit, and some might not have any. So even if you test your pills before consuming them, you literally have to do each and every one.
Gotcha.
And any amount of fentanyl is fatal. So we talk to youth about thinking of a few granules of salt on the very tip of a pencil. That's how much fentanyl it takes to possibly poison somebody. The young listeners who are going to be listening to this podcast, there is a Instagram, website, and Facebook that you can go to called songforcharlie.com, and they talk about counterfeit pills. You will learn so much. They have little 10-second videos and a lot of things to read and listen.
Well, I'm gonna ask you, how do you get it out to your community to help promote prevention?
So I think the best way to get prevention out really is to just band together all the different agencies of mental health and substance use, anybody that's doing anything for youth in general, is to really just kind of stick together and bring awareness to all these important topics and provide positive outlets for youth to grow. Like we said, the wellness festival or national night out, or maybe it might be programming in the schools. So anything that promotes like a healthier, safe environment, and anything that builds up protective factors for youth. So in prevention, we talk about risk factors and protective factors, things that can hinder you, that might lead to substance use, or things that build you up to protect you from substance use. So whether it be like family bonding, do you have a strong connection with your family? Do you have a strong connection with your community? Do you have a strong peer group? Are you involved in sports? So these are all like positive things that help you. Some of the risk factors might include, do you have a family that's incarcerated, a family member that's incarcerated? Are your parents divorced? Do you have substance use disorder and mental health that runs in your family? So the ways to help kids is to band together, and just promote everything that's positive outlet for them and bringing them the important necessary information, tips and tools that they need to know about substance use.
Why is Red Ribbon Week so important?
So Red Ribbon Week is one of the largest campaigns that is held annually in the month of October here in the US. And it began as tribute for a fallen officer, a DEA agent, Enrique Camarena, we call him Kiki, in 1985. And DEA agent Kiki Camarena was captured, tortured, and ultimately killed trying to take down some of the largest drug traffickers and drug cartel members. And so in honor of his memory, a lot of the community who decided to wear red ribbons and really teach youth about illicit drug use, to educate youth about participating in this annual campaign to raise awareness about substance use and violent crime prevention.
Do you feel that more teens should be informed on the background of Red Ribbon Week?
Yes, absolutely. So my goal for the future is to hopefully make sure that all Orange County schools participate in this important topic, not only for 1 week in October, but all year round. Because like I said, it's not only substance use prevention, but it also ties into violence, and that could tie into bullying, cyberbullying, or in-person bullying, social media, things like that.
Yeah. How can we help those who suffer from addiction?
So a common misconception about substance use disorder is that a person has to hit rock bottom before they decide to go into recovery. And that's not necessarily true. Recovery can happen at any time. And the sooner that you do talk to somebody who is using substances, obviously, the easier it might be to get them into treatment. So given the impacts of the brain and possibility of consequences of these substance use disorders, like I said, the earlier you get them into treatment, the better. And some of the strategies that are believed to be most effective in prevention use, primarily around young children, would be information dissemination. We want to make sure that the parents are given the proper facts, tips, and tools on how to have these conversations with their children. And we always say, like, again, earlier the better. The earlier you have these conversations with them, the more you'll build trust with them. And maybe by the time that they are around these substances in middle school or high school, they'll be more prompted to talk to you about what they're seeing or hearing or what their peers are doing.
Yeah.
What Team Newburgh does is provide various education for youth in the school system. We do a curriculum called Too Good for Drugs. We also provide Girls Circle, Boys Council. We provide the community Narcan training. We also do a program for parents and caregivers called Under Your Radar. And what that is we set up a mock teen bedroom and we hide items of high risk that would promote high risk behavior. We send the parents into that bedroom to try to locate these items, and then we give an informed presentation afterwards to educate them on things that they may or may not see in their community, things that they might see their teens that they just don't know what they are. And again, that'll prompt those conversations to have with them. And then we just tell parents to make sure that they have an open dialogue. Kids want to know the facts. They want to know the truth. They don't need you to lie to them. Yes, substances might make you feel good, but let's talk about the consequences. Let's talk about positive dopamine releases instead of, getting it synthetically from a substance.
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, what's a piece of advice that you have for teens who may get peer pressured into substance use?
So I like to suggest something called a bailout code for teens to use with their parent or caregiver. And basically, this is a way for them to communicate with somebody when they're in an uncomfortable situation. I also like to tell teens that they should stay away from peers who tend to look for trouble or hanging out with people that tend to do dangerous things.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that your friends share similar values as you, and your friends who don't want to do the same things, it would make it easier for you to resist that peer pressure. And we also tell them to make sure they always talk to someone who they trust, parent, teacher, caregiver, friend, school counselor, and just let them know how you're feeling, and what you're going through. And lastly, we want to make sure that the youth are modeling healthy behavior to encourage other teens to do the same.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this month's Hopeful Hearts episode, and I'm so very grateful and thankful for each and every single one of you. So please go out there, spread the word. This is for our Girl Scout Gold Award project, so go out there, tell your friends about it, and I really hope that you enjoyed. So peace out, Girl Scout.